Hi, I'm Kanisha. Welcome to my channel. I'm here to talk about Sense8 Season 1, Episode 9. I want to start with some of the information that we got from meeting Yrsa. So, something I've been wondering for a while was, is everyone in the cluster connected randomly? Or is there some thread that's intentional about why these specific people are connected? So we kind of got some more information about it. There's some kind of, I don't know, drug or something, not drug, I guess chemical, that exists in some humans, psychocilium, something like that. And we also learned that everyone in the cluster has the same birthday. I still wonder if there's anything more to how Angelica was able to birth the specific cluster and connect them together. I still don't, I don't know if that's kind of the answer and that's all there is to it, is same birthday, and I guess everyone in the cluster has the chemical in their system. I don't know. I'm happy that I got something, but I still wonder if there's really anything else. I mean, it would make sense that those are kind of the only two things that are necessary for this cluster to come together, especially since everyone in the cluster that we're following are from all over the world. So maybe that's just the answer and I'm just gonna have to move on with it. Another very interesting bit of information that we got from Yrsa was about Angelica and Jonas. So they were helping BPO to birth clusters. They were birthing clusters and using them to find more Sense8s and people with the special chemical in their systems. This brings up a lot of questions for me. Maybe the number one question is, what are they doing with them? I don't know what, I don't know why they're needed. Just for research. I still feel like there is some sort of criminal activity involved in all of this. I don't know, I just can't put my finger on it, and I'm just gonna need for the show to explain what is happening, because I don't think I'll be able to figure it out. But Sense8s are being created purposefully for some reason. It's probably a bad reason, because of course Angelica wanted to run away. And I do wonder, what was the turning point for Angelica and Jonas? Yrsa says that they were helping, so I wonder if we're gonna see what it was that made them decide to defect. I hope it's not one of those situations where Angelica and Jonas didn't have the full story about what was happening with the Sense8s that they birthed and used to find others. I just feel like that's kind of boring, and I think it would be a more interesting and maybe complicated story if Angelica and Jonas were fully on board with what was happening and then decided, or there was some catalyst that made them decide to turn their backs on BPO. I think that could be fun to watch, to see how that transformation happened. But basically, I hope we just get to see the answer. Actually, Yrsa says that they were helping, but it's possible that Angelica and Jonas were helping under duress. So maybe they were never told what the Sense8s were being used for. Maybe they didn't have the full story, or maybe they were just being forced into it and made a plan and escaped. So if that's the case, then disregard my previous statement. But I hope we get to see, because that's interesting to me. It's super interesting to know that Angelica and Jonas were helping and then they changed. So I hope we get to see that. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the show is trying to tell me about Angelica, because I was doubtful when I watched episode 1 that she would be gone from the story and not make another appearance. She's been popping up quite a bit lately, and I love it. I love that she is still involved with the show. I don't know what it means. I don't know if these are hallucinations. Are these memories? I don't know how this connection with Angelica works, since we haven't met any other clusters and we don't know how they're born, really. So there's Angelica. It seems like Angelica has a special connection to everyone in the cluster that she formed. When Will has his nightmare this episode, Angelica makes an appearance, and this stuff with Sarah Petrel is kind of baffling. Apparently Sarah was, I guess, someone that Will knew, and she went missing, and I guess it was kind of a big deal if there's like a missing persons case, and Will's dad is telling him to leave, forget about the case basically and stop trying to work it. The way that the scene was shot, where Will was kind of approaching that, I don't know, table or what it was. I don't think it was a hospital bed, but he was approaching the table with the body on it, and he uncovers the sheet and we see that it's Sarah, but it's also Angelica. That makes me think Sarah Petrel might have been another Sense8, and I had this theory that Will and Sarah were like childhood friends, and maybe they went to school together or lived in the same neighborhood or something like that. And I had thought that Will witnessed something bad happening to her. But now I'm starting to think maybe they were Sense8s living in the same town and crossed paths and became connected, like what Jonas did to Will. So maybe Sarah was a Sense8, but of course Will and Sarah wouldn't know what was happening to them if they were experiencing the visions, hallucinations, the sensory, I don't know, mingling or whatever. But they wouldn't have understood what was happening, and maybe BPO was able to find her and they just took her. That's kind of what I'm thinking is happening right now with Sarah and Will's connection to Sarah. Just the fact that Sarah was speaking to Will, and then we also see that Angelica was speaking to Will. It just seems like, I just feel like Sarah Petrel was also a Sense8 and was able to visit Will when they were kids. I had been thinking that the old guy was named Matheson, but I'm starting to think I'm wrong about that. So I think the old guy is Whispers. Yrsa tells Riley that if Jonas is around, then Whispers like isn't far behind. Something like that. Like Jonas and Whispers were connected. And Angelica and Jonas were helping Whispers. So I thought we had a name for him, and I had moved on to calling him Matheson. He had graduated from old guy, but I guess that was incorrect, and I think from now on I'm just gonna call him Whispers. But I do wonder if, like, I have doubts that Whispers is actually in charge. It would make sense to me that if there was like a CEO of this company, or like a CEO or a president of a company, they would spend most of their time maybe in meetings and not like doing on the ground type of work. So I think Whispers is not a doctor like I had previously thought. He might just be a Sense8 that is tasked, or, well, yeah, that is maybe tasked with finding other Sense8s. And maybe that's it. So I'm thinking there's probably someone above Whispers that is giving him orders, telling him what to do, maybe telling him where to go. I just feel like, as far as BPO is concerned, there must be someone else who is actually in charge of whatever shady program or whatever shady program that they got going on. So I wonder if we'll get, there's 2 seasons, so maybe at the end of this season, we might get an inkling as to who might be above Whispers in the BPO organization. I just feel like, I thought Whispers was in charge of the whole thing. But clearly, like, this is bigger than Whispers, and I think there's just more to it. So who is telling Whispers what to do? I'm looking forward to seeing who it is. Is it like a board of directors or something? Probably not. But I am looking forward to seeing who is in charge of Whispers. We learned that Yrsa is the elf that had been kind of harassing Riley and saying mean things to her. But Yrsa is also a Sense8, so she was able to visit Riley and, be mean to her. I kind of understand why Yrsa did it. Of course, her intentions were to protect Riley, but I don't know how old Riley was when Yrsa started attacking her, for lack of a better term. So it makes sense that whatever things that she said would be, that they would weigh heavy on Riley's heart, especially considering how she's lost some of her family members. It's just a really, terrible thing to do. And Yrsa had, good intentions, I guess, but it's a crappy thing to do. And even though the whole situation that they're in is crappy, with, I guess, Yrsa being afraid of BPO, it was just heartbreaking. to see the hurt that it caused Riley. I think it impacted, obviously, I think it impacted her love of music because of her dad, and the fact that her dad is kind of the only person left in her family, it seems like. And it makes sense that Riley would kind of end up DJing in clubs late where drugs could be going around, frequently. And she tried to kill herself, so all the pain that she's been experiencing, it all makes sense. Especially how we see her in the first few episodes of the season. But it's just heartbreaking. And to see her go to the cemetery, yeah, my eyes were watering watching that scene, and it was touching and heartbreaking, and at least she had Coffeus to be with her, because I feel like Coffeus is mostly a very optimistic guy. So it was cool that at least she had him around to be with and to talk to, and to talk out her feelings. And I think it's kind of interesting that Yrsa was able to start to allow Riley to have closure. And it sounded like she did not go to her, to the funeral because she was probably feeling guilty and did not want to say goodbye. But now I think Yrsa was able to help her to start to heal and to start to maybe process what had happened and kind of deal with her feelings about it. So in a very strange, kind of backward way, getting all that information from Yrsa was good for Riley. And learning the truth, I think, about what Yrsa did, I think it kind of helped Riley, actually. I'm glad that Coffeus was with Riley also because he was able to share his story of loss with her, and at a, important time for her. I had been wondering about what happened to Coffeus's younger sibling, because I noticed that his mom was pregnant in some flashbacks in previous episodes. So, man, that was really rough. This whole episode was just full of sadness, and my eyes were watering multiple times watching this episode, or at multiple times during this episode. So Coffeus' story with his little sister was, it sucked. I am surprised that neither him or his mom have not tried to contact their daughter, his little sister. I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe it was just too painful to try to connect again. But I'm surprised that he never saw her again. And I wonder if it's possible that we will see his little sister grown up somehow, some way. Partly, I think that because if what Yrsa said about the chemical in people's bodies, it seems like relatives are susceptible to being Sense8s if, DNA is a factor. So maybe his little sister could end up being a Sense8 as well, and she could be brought back into the fold. I don't know. I don't actually know how many of the Sense8 we know have siblings. I think Sun, Nomi, I think Kala. Was that it? Obvious. But I don't think Lito or Will or Wolfgang or Riley have any siblings, so maybe that's nothing. But I don't know. The thought crossed my mind that maybe we could see little sister again. But I'm glad that we also got an answer to what happened to Hafiez's younger sibling. The scenes with Nomi and Lito in the museum were painful and upsetting. It's really hard to see Lito kind of self-destruct. I think Lito is still pining after Fernando, and that's why he went to the museum, kind of to reminisce about the good times maybe. But I think all it did was really upset him and maybe remind him about what he had lost. So it wasn't a good idea, in my opinion. And I don't think it made him feel better. So why go there? And I don't know if Nomi made him feel better or made herself feel better by having someone to share and talk to. Because her situation is upsetting, to say the least, and she was able to visit with Lito when they're both kind of down in the dumps. Seems like not intense enough to describe how they're feeling, but that's kind of all I got. They're just really down because of the situations that they're in right now, and it was just miserable. It was just miserable to watch Lito in the museum, and it's miserable to watch Nomi recount her time trying to fit in. But they were like, it was a very powerful story that she told, so I appreciate that. Again, another time, my eyes were watering, so this freaking episode was so sad, and it came out of nowhere. I don't like watching sad things, for the record. I have no intention of watching This Is Us. That I know that was a very popular show when it was airing, but all I ever hear about is how sad everything it is, and everybody's crying at the end of, an episode, and like, nah, I'm not interested in that. So this episode came out of nowhere, and I was just, I don't like sad stuff. And I'm not saying that this episode was bad. It was a very good episode, and there was just a lot of entertaining things happening, but so much sadness. But watching Lito and Nomi in the museum was heartbreaking, and watching Lito just spiral out of control is just... The scene at the end made me realize that I don't think Lito has any friends. He is obviously very, closeted and sheltered, and I don't think he wants to show people who he really is because of his career. I don't think he has any friends. And I really want to know, how in the hell did he find Hernando if he's so in the closet? And that just I don't know how that happened, considering everything we see since they've broken up. But I'm very curious about how that all started in the first place with Lito and Hernando. But it just seems like Lito just doesn't have anyone to talk to, doesn't have a shoulder to cry on. He's at the bar and he's lashing out. It's so sad. Also, just the last quick thing about Lito. I think it is diabolical to choose that song to play for the last scene. It feels a little too on the nose, like overkill. And just considering the last like 20 seconds of the episode, I didn't like it. Didn't like it at all. I'm not saying that the song itself is bad. I'm not saying that like it should be a happier song. It upset me. Okay, it just upset me to hear that song being played and those lyrics, the song title, and to see Lito just lose his mind. So maybe it was a great choice because it affected me. But I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I thought it was mean, basically. One of the only good things that happened in this episode, I think, was Amanita was able to find Nomi. So I was concerned that Nomi would really just be on her own and kind of lone wolfing it until she could like get some more information on BPO and maybe visit with Will. But yeah, I was when she was escaping in the previous episode, I just felt bad for her because it felt like she couldn't go back to find Amanita or go to any of her friends for like refuge or anything like that. So I'm very happy that Neats was able to find Nomi and Nomi was able to like buy them some time to be together and like make a plan. The other good thing that happened in this episode, in my opinion, is Sun's father visits her. And I'm glad that he's there. First off, I don't know how the Korean prison system works, so I didn't know if visiting was allowed or not. But I'm glad that visitors are allowed, and I'm glad that her dad is there to see her. I don't feel good that her brother did not see her and wasn't there with their dad. So that's strange a little bit to me, but I do really appreciate that her dad is there to see her and have that conversation, and he sees the error in his ways. When Sun first kind of confronted him about what was happening with the company's finances, it really seemed like he was absolutely more concerned about protecting his company than protecting his children's like well-being. It didn't feel like he was caring at all. He just seemed like, this company is too important to me and I'm not gonna have you ruin it. Like, that was kind of the vibes I was getting from him, and I'm happy that he's kind of had a change of heart and maybe is trying to be better, based on that conversation that they had about he was a better man when Sun's mom was around. So I think he's trying to get back on that path, and I'm happy that he is doing this, and I'm sure he understands that his company maybe won't exist after he confesses. So I was happy to see that. The thing I'm excited about for next episode is I want to see if Riley is going to be able to leave Iceland again. And I wonder, like, is it possible that she could try and take her dad with her? Obviously, she, like, missed him when she was away. But I wonder if being with her dad again is gonna make her risk staying for a lot longer, or is she going to heed Yrsa's warning and try and get out very soon? So I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. So the last thing before I wrap up, let me know in the comments, what did you think about this episode? Again, I'm not a fan of this because it was so sad, and I don't like watching sad things. But, like, objectively, I think this was a very good episode. I can't say I fully enjoyed it, but it was good. It was entertaining. It was heartfelt and heartbreaking. So, yeah. Let me know what you think about this episode. Did you cry as much as I did watching? So let me know in the comments, and that's gonna do it for me for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, I want to give you a gift as thanks for watching. You can get early access to watch my next video. You won't have to wait a week to see my thoughts on the next episode. Just click the link in the description to get access now. I'll see you there.